recording whenever we're ready to go. All right. All right.
God, he's such a diva behind the scenes. That was a whole long rant. He was just yelling at us. The only way I could calm him down is pressing play, because when the cameras are on, baby.
When the cameras are on, the persona comes out, dude.
Yeah, so sorry if I'm a little quiet this episode, guys. I just got yelled at by Matt for 20 minutes.
Hey, we're producing content, baby, Alex. Come on, and make sure you cut me yelling at you out of the podcast. I won't listen to it back, so I won't know, but you better do it.
It's okay, Matt. I'm a good boy. I'll be a good boy, I promise. I promise.
All right, okay.
Could be a little bad.
All right, well.
You're Jewish. You do got Santa to look forward to. You could be a little bad. I literally remember being a kid. And I was just like, one of the biggest things... kids would be like, you're going to hell because, Christmas. And that's some of the times they said that. They mostly said it because you don't believe in Jesus.
Wait, they said you're going to hell because
you
Christmas?
don't celebrate Christmas. And so I was
Child
like...
brains are so whack.
Child brains are so whack. And I remember saying once, I was like, but I get to be a little bad and you don't. And I was like, I get to tell on your parents, and if I do that, you get coal. And meanwhile, if you tell on my parents, I don't know, they'll be disappointed in me. I'd rather get presents than be disappointed. They'll still give me presents, but it'll be like Jewish guilt added with it, you know?
Yeah, they're not going to go back in time and
it's actually, Jake, it's pronounced guilt.
Okay, that was pretty good. A good joke.
That was a really good joke. For all the Jews listening, did you laugh?
Yeah, every Jew just freaked out. Every Jew just shit their pants.
Freaked out. And if you're not Jewish, get off this episode. I'm kidding.
If you're not Jewish, Google guilt and then start laughing.
Google guilt versus guilt. Probably some think pieces up there.
With that, banger of a joke. Hello and welcome back, everyone. This is episode 86, part 1 of our family bracket. And I'm Matthew.
I'm Alex.
I'm Jakers. Jewish Jakers.
It's Jakers. I have a job today because it's the first episode in a bracket. This is our family bracket. Matt said it at the end of our last episode, but this is not movies for families. This is movies about family. And that informed my picks.
Yeah. Coming at you in today's episode, we've got Furious 7 versus Spy Kids 2. And then in the back half of the episode, we've got Lilo and Stitch versus Hereditary. Again, movies about families.
Yeah,
not
the best movie families are in these movies. Like, when you think of families and movies, you think of these movies. And we're also going to be spoiling them, We're going to be spoiling these movies, probably some other ones, because we like to reference things and other things. We also like to talk about the picks we probably should have picked in a bracket whenever we have a theme during it and spoil them as well. So just look out for all of that.
Yeah. And then before we hop into our matchups today, for a little content warning for Hereditary, it is a horror movie, so just general intense situations, but then also intense child harm plays a pretty pivotal role in that movie. So be on the lookout for that. With that said, shall we hop into our first matchup?
Let's do it.
Remember back in the day, this is for all you loyal, tough cuties, when we were obsessed. Or nasties. We were obsessed with Hop. And we were obsessed
literally every time Matt says, let's hop into a new episode, I have the urge to just go, Hop.
Look, okay.
And I think of James Marsden. Like that's all. That's the only things I can do.
We're currently embroiled in a major legal battle with James Marsden, him and his team. I can't even say his name. Can't even do it.
Yeah, can you bleep me out whenever I say James Marsden?
No, it's only Matt who's not allowed.
It's actually like a one-on-one lawsuit.
Yeah, but you literally have a team of lawyers. So if any one of us were going to get sued, it has to be you.
Well, yeah, my lawyers versus his lawyers. I mean, that's kind of how these things work.
And I'm on his team of lawyers. I just got this my first case,
which is a big win for Matt.
Oh, Alex, do you want to go ahead and introduce Furious 7?
Yeah, of course I do. This is what Google has to say.
Always Google.
Not sponsored.
I feel like it's just easier to start out this way,
Sure.
After defeating international terrorist Owen Shaw, Dominic Toretto, Vin Diesel, Brian O'Connor, Paul Walker, and the rest of the crew have separated to return to their normal lives. However, Deckard Shaw, Jason Statham, Owen's older brother, is thirsty for revenge. A slick government agent offers to help Dom and company take care of Shaw in exchange for their help in rescuing a kidnapped computer hacker who has developed a powerful surveillance program. This movie kicks ass. It's so good. It's super about family. It's definitely, of all of the Fast and Furious movies, it's the most about family. It's got some amazing action sequences. It's got the farewell to Paul Walker.
Sad.
It's so good. People were like, why didn't you pick this one for the team up bracket? And it's because
you knew it was going up against the A team.
We also
because it was going up against the A team, and I couldn't.
We knew all the movies we were gonna pick, and
God, imagine if we did that. Oh my
god. I remember when I was first watching the Fast and Furious movies. It was one summer. My brother and I were both living in New York, and we decided hey, let's watch all the Fast and Furious movies. And so that probably in a week span, we watched all of them. And this is when there were only 7. I think there were only 7 at this time.
Whoa.
So we spent a week watching all of them and ended on this one. And it was just such a good time. And it holds a very special place in my heart and a special memory with my brother. So yeah, family.
Aww.
Oh.
Yeah. Matt, what do you think about this one?
As the guy who has seen the least number of Fast and Furious movies in the room.
Ever in the world, he is the guy.
I am that guy.
What if you walked into a room every time that's how you proclaimed yourself? You're like, I'm Matthew. I'm the one who's seen the least amount of the Fast and Furious movies. That's a great fun fact, actually.
So
how do you present that as a fun fact?
Those fucking if we decided to go back to college and you have to do those dumb icebreakers, say a fun fact about you. Imagine if one dude stood up and was like, I can guarantee that in this room I've seen the least number of that with full confidence. I think that'd be pretty fun.
I've seen the least Fast and Furious content among everyone in this room.
Honestly,
that's pretty good.
I'd talk to him.
And even if it's not true, that's a funny ass thing to say. You know
exactly.
what I mean? Either way, I'm going to talk that person is cool.
Maybe. Anyway, as the person on this podcast that's seen the least number of Fast and Furious movies, I had a lot of fun with this one. I think this is a movie that benefits from not getting too bogged down and I don't know, some of the story and whatever else. And it's just a good time, Did this movie, make me want to watch Hobbs and Shaw? Yeah, I'd probably watch it after seeing this.
Okay, I'll say Hobbs and Shaw is worse than this movie, but if you don't get bogged down with the story or don't get bogged down in the characters or anything, it's pretty fun.
I'll be real with you. I had a lot of fun with Hobbs and Shaw. Maybe even more than Fast 7. And that's coming, whatever.
Yeah,
but we're not talking about Hobbs and Shaw, okay?
But we could be.
We could be. This movie, it's pretty fun. I definitely see the connection to family. It is nearly omnipresent in all aspects of what story this movie does have.
Mm-hmm.
It was a good time. What about you, Jake? What do you think about this one?
Yeah, I think this is a fun movie. Objectively, on paper, fun movie. These are going to be super fun movies. I was never a big fan of the Fast and Furious movies. I think they're good and fun, but as soon as I stop watching them, I do not think about them, with the exception of preparing this podcast. Or doing Vin Diesel jokes, because I think they're very funny. And that's just my honest opinion. Having to see it again, I was like, okay, this is a movie. It's interesting because family, when I think of family, I do think of Fast and Furious movies, but I think because of the meme. I don't know if it's
family.
Actually about family or if it's about Vin Diesel saying it in the way that he does. And that's where I'm I know it's about family. I know that on paper, but then I'm just or is it just because the meme is so popular now?
It's definitely the story is about
the story
family.
is, yeah.
Yeah, I'll say
literally
Jake,
about family.
I think that's true for a lot of the Fast and Furious movies. I think this one in particular is more about family than all of the other ones.
Sure, for sure. A lot of that, of course, credit to because Paul Walker passed away, and if this wasn't a little bit more,
well, but Deckard Shaw, he's the villain, and his whole thing is he's getting revenge for his brother. There's the storyline of Dom and Letty, and that's a whole family thing. This movie was gonna be about family before Paul Walker passed away, and I think that kind of was just
okay,
yeah.
I didn't want to say a cherry on top.
Yeah,
it
adds sold tickets. It sold tickets.
Yeah,
am I
adds
right?
a bit more emotional resonance to it.
Yeah,
Okay, we'll Jake, in a moment here, you'll go ahead and introduce Spy Kids 2.
I'm so curious what's poking at your brain.
I just have to interject. I don't know how I got here, but on Wikipedia, you can eventually make your way to a list of Fast and Furious characters, and it includes, for all of them, all of the cars they've driven in every single movie.
That
in order?
kicks ass.
I think so.
Someone needs a life. Someone needs a vitamin C lamp. Like ASAP.
Awesome.
Vitamin D
I'm
lamp,
not
whatever
even
it
a
is.
car guy, and I think that's one of the coolest things I've ever heard.
I genuinely think that person has scurvy or something.
Yeah, it's like each movie, the exact make and the exact make and year for each car that the person drives.
Wait, Can we take a step back for a second?
Yeah.
Jake, why'd you say they have scurvy?
I just associate scurvy with a lack of vitamin D.
Anyway, Jake, do you want to go ahead and introduce Spy Kids 2?
You can't say I'm wrong, at least immediately. Anyway, we are not a scientific podcast. We never claim to be educational. I have said things that are wrong. That's not one of them. So, Spy Kids 2. Directors Robert Rodriguez, came out 2002, post 9/11 movie. They're now full-fledged Spy Kids. They're back for another James Bond style adventure. That's what Google says, which is hilarious. They're facing their rival Spy Kids. They're also siblings, Gary and Gertie. One of them's Emily Osment. Isn't that cool? And they end up on a distant island where there's a mysterious little man, and he's making weird old creatures. He's basically a furry. But yeah, he's a furry god. And look, this movie, when I heard we were doing movies about families and stuff and about family, my pitches were about the families in film that I think are the best, that are the most interesting, fun, dynamic, really this film family and the film that they're in explores such cool things. And Spy Kids 2, I think, is really fun because we get to see the family in bits and pieces and also found family in this freaky deaky scientist. And the Gertie and all this stuff. There's so many family dynamics, and I always remember seeing Spy Kids as a kid and being like, man, I wish that were my family. And so yeah, that's why I pitched Spy Kids 2. I loved it. So now, what do you think, Alex?
I have very fond memories of Spy Kids 2. I actually, thinking about it, never really liked the first Spy Kids. Because I think I saw it when I was too young, and the thumb guys scared me. But I liked the second Spy Kids a lot, and I liked the third Spy Kids a lot. I recently rewatched the third Spy Kids, and had an awful time and couldn't finish it. So I watched this one and had to finish it, so I did. And it has some very good moments, right? The mad scientist guy is
Steve Buscemi, man.
Is played by Steve Buscemi, and he's wonderful. He's so good.
He's great. Phenomenal part of this movie.
It's got fantastic moments. The part that always sticks out to me is when the two-headed sea serpent bites the balloons and they go flying, and then it happens again, and it's so funny.
It's great.
This movie has a lot of very fun moments for me. Ricardo Montalban is in it. He's great. Antonio Banderas in this one too. So good.
Antonio Banderas really puts his whole he really having
goes
so
for
much fun.
it.
He really
goes for it.
Yeah.
That's kind of where I'm at with this one.
What is this podcast for if not forcing our friends to watch movies all the way through?
True.
I think.
Also, I should say, Furious 7 was released in 2015 and directed by James Wan, because I forgot to say that earlier.
You should.
Thank you. Yeah. Put respect on James Wan's name.
Yeah.
Why did he direct this one? Why a Fast and Furious movie? I wish I could get inside his little head and find out.
I really do, because Malignant is a masterpiece, and I need to know what's going through that man's brain.
And Saw 1?
Yeah.
Anyway,
wow.
Yep.
What did I think of Spy Kids 2? It's a question on everyone's mind right about now. And what I'll say, the thing that consumed me most as I watched this film is that the children, these child spies, actually all the spies, they work for the OSS.
Yeah.
Which had my brain running wild, because in real life, the OSS was retired. It eventually became the CIA in a post-World War II world. Basically because the OSS had no oversight and was immensely powerful. So I'm sitting there thinking, does this take place in an alternate universe where the OSS was never retired?
Leave it to Matthew to like watch an innocent little kids movie and think about the one governmental thing they talk about and cling to it like a demon.
Well, that's how they're able to break all the child labor laws.
That's very true.
Probably true. How you can get right. Oh, and it you know what? It's not even a question. They can like fucking give orders to the president or make requests of him, and they're just children because they're a level 2 spy
that dude's like playing footsie with the president's daughter at one point. Like, you can't do that regularly.
Yeah, well,
okay, that moment where he's like, he also only dances ballet, that kicks ass.
That kicks ass.
That's
I see a lot of
That's
myself
so cool.
in Junie when I was a kid. He's a little Hispanic kid with curly hair. I was like, yeah.
Huh. Yeah.
Jake, do you do ballet?
I could.
Cool.
I think I'd look really cool doing it.
Dude, you'd rock a tutu.
I'd wear one. Who's gonna stop me? Who's gonna go on stage and stop me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't
no
think
one.
anyone's gonna
Mila
stop me.
Kunis? No.
Yeah. She might.
I hope.
That was a Black Swan reference for all you Black Swan heads out there.
Yeah, it's a
You know
deep
what?
cut.
I never saw Black Swan, and I didn't know she was in that movie.
You know,
That's
I
crazy.
genuinely don't think you'd like that movie. I think you would hate that movie, to be honest with you.
I remember there was a lot of buzz around it.
I love it. I think it's great.
Anyway, we're getting away from the point here. But Spy Kids 2 is it's pretty fun. I, much like Alex, had not seen these movies since I was but a wee child. I liked them as a kid. It was like fine enough to like sit down and rewatch it. I was like, I can get through this. Because I did get through Spy Kids 3 probably like, I don't know, 8 years ago.
Well, I watched all of Spy Kids 3 like years and years ago.
Say 8 years
it's not like
ago?
I've never finished Spy Kids
I feel
3.
I feel like you watched it like recently and you just don't want to say. I feel like there's like some hidden deep letterbox with you, just constant rewatches of Spy Kids 3 and each time rating 5 stars and be like, why can't we rate it higher? Like, what's going on?
This site is broken. This movie's a masterpiece and you've given it a terrible rating.
If anything, you make new letterbox reviews just to bump up the rating more and more.
It's astonishing that Spy Kids 3 has only received a 2.3 out of 5.
Sylvester Stallone's best performance yet.
Unironically, it might be. I don't know.
Goes through every single person in the cast with that exact review. Alexa Pena Vega's best role yet.
This is Ricardo Montalban's masterpiece.
I love how this is our film like letterbox bro voice. It's just like this. That kid, Judy, I loved him.
I wouldn't say that about Junie.
You do? Oh, is he awful?
He's a really bad guy, and he's
think
most
he's talking
of
about as
Spy
an
Kids
actor.
3, and it's tough.
Oh, I thought you were like saying the real life actor was bad. No,
I knew nothing about him as a person.
Is
I
he
hate him
married
as a
to Meghan
performer.
Trainor or something?
Aren't we all in the end of the day?
No, I think
No,
she's
I
only
think
married
he
to
is.
one person.
Oh, I gotta tell my lawyers.
Yeah, you should look at getting that annulled or something.
Yeah,
Anyway,
I don't know.
comparing these movies, we've spent so long talking about nothing.
Whoa, who started it? No, who started it? Because you start talking about government OSS shit. No, fuck off. It's usually it's my fault. I will take that. Usually it's my fault, or Alex just runs with me. But today, no, it is you. It is you, Matthew.
We're 20 minutes into this recording. What happened? Okay. Real conversation. One thing.
Yeah. Really, really cool that these are, you got 2 Latin families. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's
That's
cool.
pretty cool.
That's something that like always struck me about Spy Kids. Of like, I don't think there was any other Latinx like representation in media that I watched as a kid. Like, I can't think of anything.
And I think that's probably why I also gravitate towards this. Like, again, like I looked a lot like Junie when I was a kid. I straight up, I did. Like, it was a Latin family. I was just like, oh, this is this is really cool to see. And again, that wish of just like families in movies and their family dynamics and all this stuff, it just made me like so happy to see that on screen. And I guess maybe a part of me, if I'm being really candid, I'm really psychoanalyzing myself, because part of me wants to just like go full like, man, I don't really care about the Fast and Furious movies, even though I know they're fun, whatever. But I think maybe it's because I'm scared. I'm scared of that family. I don't think I would want to be a part of that family. I think
Fast and Furious, like the like, do you mean like in a biological sense, or in like a you don't want to run with the crews sense?
probably both. Honestly, I know they're like fiercely loyal and shit, and that's great and all, but they make dumb decisions based off greed and power and fast cars. And
It's also, this is a question for the fast heads. Okay, of the 3 movies I've seen, the first Fast and Furious, Fast 5, and Fast 7, they steal $60 million in Fast 5. Why in Fast 7 are they simply living in like regular neighborhoods?
Oh, so that's the neighborhood that they're originally from. They're originally from somewhere in California, I think.
It's Los Angeles,
But
isn't it?
could be.
Pretty sure that's the city. Anyway, yeah.
But I think like part of the big difference is like in Fast 5, in Fast 4, they're like running from they did like a big crime and they're on the run. Fast 5, they have like one last job to make a bunch of money so they don't have to do crimes anymore. Fast 6, they get recruited by Hobbs to assist in a capture and it'll fully clear their names. And then they do. And so that's why they're just like living normal lives.
But they're not living like wealthy lives.
I still feel like they make poor use of their money.
I agree.
Well,
like
yeah, they spend
100%.
it all on cars.
And I just feel like
spend it all on cars.
well, exactly. I don't know. I was never a car guy. guy. The closest I got to being a car guy is those little, what's the little race cars like that kids used to play with?
Hot Wheels. Beat that.
Yeah, that's like the only, I would see those commercials and it'd be like, oh, that's cool. And that's it.
Wow.
Anyway, as far as like the actual relationships to family these movies have, I would say they're both movies about family, but at least as far as I kind of see them, and I can be convinced either way, I think, is like, it is so intrinsically tied to like the DNA of Furious 7, what it is as a movie. Whereas Spy Kids, it's like part of the plot, but also like there's all this other plot stuff going on, kind of like adjacent to it.
Yeah.
Not that like a movie about family has to like be only or centrally exclusively about family, but like what is your take on that, Jake? Like where do you see the big family moments in Spy Kids 2?
Right. Well, you kind of like something I want to address like with it. You kind of hit it like at the end. I was like, I know that Fast 7, they family comes up a lot, and I would argue like just because it is coming up a lot does not mean it's the best representation like of family and stuff going on. It's still a good like representation. It's still at the forefront, but families are weird and complicated and whatever. And in Spy Kids 2, I just really like I really like brother sister dynamics. I found those always to be like the most interesting to me. Like kids, I feel like a lot in family movies, like you see a lot of relationships between like a mother and father figure with the kid. Like often, like it's always like something
like
about these families.
Familial unit.
Not even full, just like, oh, I have a stress relationship with my mom, like a Ladybird, or like, oh, like like my dad is like there, but my mom's gone like 8th grade or like something. But
or even just spouses,
or just like, spouses, yeah.
But
something about seeing a brother and sister and their bond, and then also seeing, I love families, which I just thought of a thing that we didn't pitch at all in this bracket, the Addams Family. That's probably a missed opportunity.
Yeah, for real.
Hardcore missed opportunity, actually. But I love seeing a mom and dad be so like down for each other, no matter, like, it's not an issue about their legitimacy and family. There's no like whatever, they just like fucking love each other, and they just love their kids, and they're just like, we gotta save our kids. And I think I believe it. Like, I believe in their chemistry. I believe it doesn't seem facetious in me. And I think it's really cool.
You don't think the relationships, despite them being like said in a particular way about Furious 7, you don't think they're as genuine a relationship or as genuine a display of the relationship.
Yeah, it feels sometimes performative. It feels like they're checking boxes sometimes with like all the Fast and Furious movies, which I guess is unfair because we're just talking about Fast 7. But like with Fast 7, I still felt it. like they know what people like at this point, especially because it's the seventh one. If it was the first one, I guess it would be a little different because they're, you know, trying something new at that point. But this, it just, I couldn't separate it in totality. Whereas Spy Kids 2 just, it feels like they just love each other, man. This is someone's depiction of this family, and it feels very genuine, and they're just throwing shit at a wall. Yeah, and again, I also like, as I kind of mentioned before, the kind of found family aspect, which Fast 7 does this as well, so give credit to Fast 7 about it, with some of their other tertiary characters. But like, you know, bringing the scientists in the fold, like kind of like talking about that dynamic and like what family can mean.
Well, so I mean, here's my thing about everything that you just said, Jake, is like, yeah, I think there are those themes in Spy Kids 2, but I feel like if you want to look at like the parenthood theme and like the brother sister theme, I feel like you should have picked Spy Kids 1, because Junie and Carmen are like truly the main focus of that. Whereas in this one, there's a lot more with like Gary and Gertie, and they're kind of like the race to the island and like all this kind of other stuff that I think.
But I knew you were scared of the first one, so I didn't want to do that to you because you're my family.
You know, I'm a big brave boy. I can look at some thumbs now. Whereas, like, I think I agree that like a movie about family doesn't have to all be about family, but I feel like the concentrated like 100% pulp of Fast and Furious 7, it's so about family, right? Like, it is in every single relationship is put in this frame of like family, right? It's like the rivalry with the villain, the like relationship between every character on the crew, right? Like, I don't know. I get that there's something fun about Spy Kids being a brother and sister story, but I just feel like it doesn't fully compare to how much Furious 7 is actually about like these familial relationships and found family and everything. Plus, I can't stand to watch the actor who plays Junie Cortez. He's so awful. He's so bad, guys. I think he is actively worse than Vin Diesel, because Vin Diesel at least is like playing up the character of like, he's not like, he's trying to be a good actor, but like he is very like steadfast. Like he knows what he's doing as Dom Toretto, even if he is bad at it. Whereas Junie Cortez, the actor is trying to be good.
Junie's
and
a kid. He's a child actor. Vin Diesel has had years to be good.
That is not an excuse. Child actors can be bad, and just because they're a bad child actor does not make it better. Like, I don't want to watch a child actor.
Just because he's leaning into making himself bad doesn't make it better for Vin Diesel to be bad.
I feel like Vin Diesel being bad is part of the character of Fast and Furious, you know?
But
like, they are cheesy movies.
I don't know. I think that was a forced choice by the producers to be like, we gotta make sure he's purposely bad or else people are gonna realize he sucks.
I can't stand the actor who plays Junie. And I think the biggest problem I have is that Spy Kids 3 Game Over is all about Junie, and this movie, Spy Kids 2, is leaning into all being about Junie. Yeah, because it's like, oh, it's Junie's decision to leave the OSS and go rogue and like be a...
Wait, the OSS? Matthew, take it off.
Okay, wait. that one little thing just on this Spy Kids 3 piece we're talking about. Spy Kids 3, he's like living on his goddamn own, working as a private investigator. Why does quitting the OSS mean you become like an independent being instead of, I don't know, living with your goddamn parents?
Going to middle school.
Because too many trade secrets? I don't know. I don't
If that was the case, they would have sent like 100 Spy Kids to execute Junie.
And guess what? We didn't see that movie. They're dead. They're dead, Matthew. Junie killed them.
Like, I've read a book or two about the history of the actual OSS, and man, would they not worry about killing a child.
Oh, yikes. Zack Snyder was in pitches to direct that movie, and instead he made 300, so it was, loosely based.
Yeah, you win some, you lose some.
Yeah.
Just something I want to take a turn on really quickly, because we should probably vote pretty soon. But do you think God stays in heaven because he too lives in fear of what he's created on Earth? Line has got to be the biggest mismatch in terms of writing quality and movie quality of perhaps all time.
I need to know what was going on in that person's life, whoever wrote that line, because things are probably muddled too. It's probably not even the writer. It's probably a mixture. Like something happened to a bunch of people in a perfect succession to make someone write that line.
Yeah.
And
I
like,
kind of think
what?
the whole script was that good, and then the actor who plays Genie came in.
Oh my gosh.
And they were doing it. And
He is a child.
He just couldn't handle the weight of that script, and so they had to dumb down the whole movie.
The whole movie, but
But
they left
Steve
that
Buscemi-
one line.
They left that one line because
Yeah.
Steve Buscemi was like, "I will die. Before
I will
let
walk.
this
I
line
will
go."
walk. I literally
Yeah.
did Reservoir Dogs, and you're making me do this. I will walk unless you let me say the hardest fucking line in cinema history. That's a good. I mean,
That's a
I
good
believe
point.
that. I believe that there was a hard line, and Steve Buscemi fought for it and they're like, tonally, this doesn't make sense. But he was like, I will walk. Okay.
It's such a good line.
Yeah.
It really is. I just feel like it's the elephant in the room when it comes to Spy Kids. You've got to talk about it.
You have to
Like,
talk
what
about
Oh
it.
yeah.
You have to talk about it.
and all those little cute CGI skeletons. They're so goofy.
I really
yeah.
love them guys, and their families probably.
They were a family. Now they're dead.
You can
You know
be a
what? There is
skeleton
one
family.
more thing about Spy Kids 2 that pisses me off. All of Romero's like monster creatures are like fun, witty combinations, right? You've got like the spider monkey.
Yeah.
It's like half spider, half monkey. You've got when pigs fly.
Mhm.
You've got a horse fly. And then you've got slizzards. And it's just a snake lizard.
I think
What's
that's-
up with
I
that?
think that's raw as hell. I think if you're any fucking teen boy who was bored doing a science experiment, you love that shit. I'm sorry.
But
I think
it's so
cool.
dumb. Like, you could come up with other puns. Why'd you get lazy and make a slizzard?
Because
like, there
he
are other
knew
things
that
you
there
could
would
have
be a
done.
song called like a G6 coming out that people would really like, and it would be like sipping scissor in my ride like 3-6. Now I'm feeling so fly like a G6. They knew that was going to happen, and slizzard, scissored rhyme, and they wouldn't have had another word that rhymes.
You
That's
make a
my
good
fan
argument.
theory. Thank you. Thank you.
It still makes me unhappy.
Is there someone that wants to start us off?
Yeah, I can go first. I feel like I've made my position the most clear. I'm going to vote for Furious 7. I think it is more about family, and I like it more as a movie.
I'm voting for Spy Kids 2. Not that it's a better movie, but I like the family in it more. I think it does what it does with its family in a more interesting and familiar way to me personally. And if we talk about family,
You'd
You gotta
rather
get
spend
personal.
an afternoon with the Cortez family than you
Absolutely.
would the Toretto family.
yeah, because if I spend an afternoon with the Toretto family, I'm getting charges put on me. No.
Well, it all comes down to me, and seeing as Robert Rodriguez also created Alita Battle Angel, my vote is clear, and I'm going to be voting for Furious 7.
No, I mean a battle angel.
No. I mean, my vote's not a joke, but the Alita Battle Angel was fun.
I liked Alita Battle Angel,
Yeah,
unfortunately.
yeah.
It just has god awful, like, her eyes are terrifying.
Yeah,
It's
it's
called
bad.
anime. Look it up.
Ooh, sorry, my bad.
They were doing an anime. I also should mention that I hate how Spy Kids 4 was just a bunch of white people.
Well,
Well,
wait,
there's a Spy Kids 4?
Spy Kids
but
4D
wasn't-
with Joel McHale and Jessica Alba.
Don't
as the
ruin
parents.
that for me.
crazy. Are
Don't.
the original family in it?
Genie and Alexa Penavega show up. I don't know if it's in like a cameo.
So it's like a Home Alone thing where, like, they wanted to continue the franchise but couldn't get the original peeps, like, fully back, and so they just, like,
Yeah,
did
it's
the
like
premise
the
without
Shark
them.
Boy and Lava Girl one.
yeah, it was after Antonio Banderas joined Shrek. So
Mm,
probably
him
too
back.
busy as Puss in Boots.
that's crazy. We're gonna hop to the other side of this bracket. Furious 7 advances, so you can catch that 2 weeks from now. But we've got one more matchup in this episode. I can go ahead and kick it off by introducing Hereditary. So, Hereditary, released in 2018, directed by Ari Aster. When the matriarch of the Graham family, Ellen, or Queen Lee as she's known to her friends, passes away. Her daughter Annie, played by Toni Collette, begins to unravel cryptic and increasingly terrifying secrets about their ancestry. All the while, her son Peter, played by Alex Wolff, tries to escape the sinister fate he has inherited upon his sister's death. Yeah, so Hereditary family bracket. There's a lot loaded in here.
Yeah.
So, sort of cutting to the chase on it, this movie, when it came out, I'm sure you both remember the hype around it. The heralded as the like one of the best, one of the scariest, kind of etc., all sorts of stuff. And Jake actually already knows this because we talked about it way back when. But when I first watched it, I was actually initially disappointed because it is not like the scariest movie of all time. It's not this X, Y, and Z sort of thing. But it's actually grown on me over the years. And it's more for its quiet moments than its loudest ones. For example, like Charlie's death, I think is such a phenomenal scene.
Great scene.
And Peter's subsequent reaction, just like driving home, like sitting in the car, driving home and just collapsing onto his bed, are like really, really like genuine moments. The film just displays this true distortion of family structure. Normally it's something that we cling to for safety and stability, but in reality that's not always the case for a lot of people. Family has conflict, family can be problematic, family, has trauma. And this movie is a true exploration of grief and generational trauma and mental health and sort of so many other things that I thought it was pretty important to also show like this side of family when it comes to like putting movies in the bracket.
They got naked witches.
And we love naked witches on the Tough Cut.
This is true. This is just an objective fact.
It's just a fact. So that's a whole bunch of words all to say that I put Hereditary in this bracket. So Jake, what do you think about rewatching this one?
Yeah, this is... I truly think this is an inspired pick for a family bracket. I thought at first I just thought it was funny. Because that's like pretty much my knee-jerk reaction. Like I feel like it would be most people's knee-jerk reaction when they hear this movie in the family bracket. But then like really thinking about it and then rewatching it with like family being like the mindset, it's pretty fucking wild how it does tackle generational trauma and just like family dynamics in a really, really interesting way. Like hopefully this never happens to you or has happened to you, audience, but imagine accidentally killing your sister. We did say spoilers, but like, fuck, what does that do to you? What does that do to your family? Like that scene he was talking about is like, oh my God. This was also one of those movies when I first watched it. This is one of the most egregious ones where you're like, okay, why doesn't the Oscars or a lot of other thing recognize performances in horror? Because I genuinely think Toni Collette gives one of the best monologues that I've seen in recent history with the "I am your mother" speech, which is very familiar and like. That hit really hard. I just think there's a lot of really, really good stuff when it comes to family, and horror is such a good thing talking about family because there's a bunch of things about like genetic horror and just like horror like because you're chosen because you were born in something and blah blah blah. I just think this is. I mean, it's literally called Hereditary, and so I think it's a great pick. I think it's a very exciting pick to be in this bracket for sure.
Thank you. Alex, what do you think of this one? Had you seen it before? Had you experienced that kind of swept up in the 2018 craze for it?
No. I hadn't seen it before. I very much missed the 2018 craze of it. I didn't really know about it at all. And so like watching it, I had no idea what it was about. I had no idea what happened during it. And so the beginning is that's like perfect. I'd seen no trailers, truly knew nothing, except the name was Hereditary and the grandma died and it seemed like witchy stuff is going on. And then I was like, at the beginning, creeped out by the daughter, and then she dies. And I'm like, this gonna get interesting.
Wait, can I tell you something real quick? Because you didn't watch the trailers. The movie promoted itself with mainly showing her and that she was going to be the scary thing in the whole movie. Wow. Like the whole promotion around it was basically like she is the scary thing. She is going to either get possessed or is the like it was about her. And like to drop that bomb after like the build up is like it blew. Well,
the movie is still about Charlie.
Yeah, I mean 100%.
She's 100%. Just not alive for most of it.
Yeah. But sorry, I just had to say that because I just like it's a really cool.
It's a great interjection.
Tidbit.
No, I mean it goes wild. It's really good though. It's such a funny and also like thoughtful pick for family.
Thank you.
At the end of the day.
Yeah, sort of in spite of it all. With that said, Alex, do you want to go ahead and introduce Lilo and Stitch?
Hell yeah.
Yeah. Lilo and Stitch, released in 2002, directed by Chris Sanders and Dean DeBlois? DeBlois? DeBlois?
I don't know, man.
Dude, we used to look people's names up before we started recording.
This is the first I have ever looked at that name.
DeBlois?
DeBlois?
Sometimes you read things and you're just not prepared.
That's pretty great.
But Lilo and Stitch, this is also from Google. A tale of a young girl's close encounter with the galaxy's most wanted extraterrestrial. Lilo is a lonely Hawaiian girl who adopts a small, ugly dog, whom she names Stitch. Stitch would be the perfect pet if he weren't in reality a genetic experiment who has escaped from an alien planet and crash-landed on Earth. Through her love, faith, and unwavering belief in ohana, the Hawaiian concept of family, Lilo helps unlock Stitch's heart and gives him the ability to care for something else. She also uses Elvis. I added that last part.
Mm-hmm.
This was a movie that I always loved as a kid. I loved it for its exciting moments. I thought Stitch was such a fun character. And, you know, I picked it because it's like, oh, it's about family, like ohana. Ohana means family. Rewatching it, I noticed so many things and learned so much about this movie. I probably haven't seen this movie in like 12 years. And so like rewatching it, there was so much that just like totally went over my head as a kid. Kind of the same way, Matt, that you mentioned the quiet moments in Hereditary being so good. The quiet moments in Lilo and Stitch that I just totally missed as a kid are so good. I guess somewhere as a kid I understood that like their parents had passed away, but like I had no concept for that. I had never experienced death, so like I didn't really understand what it was like for Nani, like trying to raise Lilo as her older sister and also be like, you know, like I just didn't get it. And so rewatching it now, it was so cool to like see this movie that I always loved as a kid and realize like, oh shit, I missed so much. And it is such a stronger movie than I ever thought it was. Matt, what do you think about this movie?
I think this is a fantastic pick, a fantastic movie. I love Lilo and Stitch. I rewatched this movie actually no more than like 6 months ago. So it's something very close at heart. I think you've essentially hit the nail on the head that the movie is, you know, ohana means family. It is a movie about family, but in a much deeper way than at least is like on the surface. Essentially your experience realizing, you know, kind of a little bit of what Nani is going through, I think is just so profound. And is such an incredible piece of this film, especially in the context of family. Because it is something that I'm sure is really, really hard. And truly worrying so deeply. That like sisterly bond the two of them have is just so awesome. It's a fantastic movie. It absolutely is a family movie, and it is a great family movie. So, Jake,
yeah,
what do you think about this one?
This is a very strong pick. I love unconventional families in film. Like as I was kind of talking about, or focusing on things that aren't just mom, dad, sister, brother, blah blah blah, blah boo. I think that this is great. I mean, it's watching it when I was younger. Like you feel like this feeling of sadness and also being grateful at the same time. It's like a very good, very strong way of like feeling these emotions of like kind of like what family can mean, not like what it like should mean, not like what it is like in totality, but what its potential can be, both from loss and from gaining something different. You know, loss being obviously the family and the sisters grieving together and trying to figure out what that dynamic looks like, but also like finding someone, this happens to be from another planet and all that, but who is different from you, but realizing that like, oh, you can form a family at any point in your time. Like that's what's so powerful about Lilo and Stitch, is that just because you lose a part of your family does not mean you cannot work towards gaining another. And I think that's a really beautiful message, a really, really great one. It's just a fun little movie, man.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Kind of jumping right into it. I think there's a really great comparison we can kind of make right off the top, is that both of these movies get into, I guess, distortion is probably too harsh a word to put on Lilo and Stitch, but like a subversion of traditional familial structure, which I think
it
is
talks
super
about like loss and grief in families, which I think is a big key point. I mean, it's both top of the movie, Hereditary just shows it a little bit more intensely. But imagine a Lilo and Stitch if they showed that shit.
Imagine a Lilo and Stitch where
Lilo and Stitch where their parents are decapitated on screen.
Yeah. Just imagine how much cooler that movie would be.
Wow, wait, can you imagine Lilo and Stitch where Stitch crash lands on planet Earth and his little rocket ship landing on Earth is what decapitates Lilo's parents?
Whoa, but that's dramatic because, like, you find out you love them and all that stuff, and then you find out I was the one who killed your family, though.
You would have a very different third act low point.
Yeah. I still think they move in together and start a Disney series. I think that's real. No, I think it's really great comparing that these two are both tackle grief and show that family is not what it is on paper in the traditional or commercial sense. I like to
they don't have to be.
Yeah,
I think is an important piece, and I actually want to applaud the mouse in one capacity. Is like,
yo, be careful with that shit.
He'll take your applause and turn it into $20, Matt. Be careful.
Be careful.
Applaud the mouse in some capacity is that Disney like puts what I think is pretty genuine effort showing a lot of non-traditional familial structures, and Lilo and Stitch is no exception to that, which I just think is really, really awesome to do. In like a representational sense, it super matters for people to be able to see not just like people like themselves, as may have been the case for, Native Islanders in Hawaii seeing Lilo and Stitch, but also just like family structures can be complicated. Sometimes your parents die and you have to be raised by your 19-year-old sister, you know?
Sometimes, you wanted a boy and to be the next in line for your blood witch coven, and it doesn't work out because your daughter's fucking rude, and then you gotta kill your granddaughter and
find a new house for her spirit that holds one of the princes of hell.
Yeah, I think they're both relatable stories and something, Disney does well in both of them.
I agree so much, actually. When at the end, Lilo just dives out that window and dies.
Yeah.
And then
when Nadi's just like banging her head on the like cellar door.
When they cut off Jumba's head.
Yeah. Seeing Nani banging her head like that makes me act up, dude. What the hell?
Yeah, I mean, you gotta also credit Lilo and Stitch for making one of the best baddies in animated history. I'm sorry, I'll say it. There's Mrs. Incredible, there's Nani, there's the B-movie mom,
girls.
The Hex Girls.
Wait, Jake. I like how you didn't say the woman in B-movie. You said the mom in B-movie, which means B, Jerry Seinfeld's mom, because B, Jerry Seinfeld has a mother in the movie.
Shit. Oh, my bad. I'm thinking of MILFs, and then you know what? I stand by it. I want to fuck the B.
This man wants to fuck the B. Guess what's getting rebooted in live action?
It's like the Wicker Man, but like X-rated.
The bees! Not the bees! No, it's the bees! More bees!
There's only one way out of that statue, and it's fucking.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. Did you think that's where this conversation would be?
I think we might have to cancel the podcast now.
You know what I love about Stitch, and a realization I had watching this movie again? You know how it's like a kind of a societal thing now of like goblin energy?
Yeah.
Like being a nasty little guy. Mm-hmm. I think the first time I ever experienced that was Lilo and Stitch, because Stitch is kind of that like nasty little guy. He like crawls around, he does crime, and he gets ice cream at the end of the day, and that's pretty cool.
That's what I aspire to. Goblin mode. Goblin mode almost got voted for the dictionary like new word of the year, but instead Gaslight won.
Boo.
No, it didn't.
Nice. Good joke. Good joke. Perfect joke. Let's actually retire on that one. That's
is that? I don't think we have time to vote now.
Okay, so another comparison here. So Stitch goes goblin mode. Toni Collette goes goblin mode.
She sure does. She sure fucking does, dude. It must have been so fun of a role for Toni Collette to do this. Like, really getting the emotional parts, really getting her thing, and then to be a full goblin at the end. Amazing.
Yeah. So who wins,
really
Stitch or Annie Graham? In a
Once I see
battle
Stitch
down?
voluntarily with like some wire saw off his own head, then he can talk to me. I'm sorry, Toni Collette mother she is mother. You know what I mean?
Mother.
Mother. Father.
Anyway, sorry.
I mean, look, both these movies have misunderstood monsters in them.
Yeah, Lilo and Charlie.
Mm-hmm.
What do you guys think would happen if Charlie had found Stitch?
She would have copped off his head and like presented the bird to some weird. She was doing weird stuff. Look, I know we're not supposed to judge people, but I think there's a certain point where she probably deserved to be bullied sometimes. I think that bullying works sometimes.
Hot take from the Tough Cut today.
I think it works sometimes, and maybe, just maybe, she wouldn't have been, Paimon at the end of the day.
Or you give a very different vessel to Paimon.
That's very true. You could do that.
Paimon ends up inside Stitch. Oh boy.
That's basically the plot of like the second movie, right?
I don't know.
Lilo and Stitch. Stitch is a glitch. Yeah, it's where he gets possessed by a demon and like is
he gets
like
really mad
filling
sometimes.
up his mad gauge, and if it fills up all the way, then he turns into a demon.
That's cool.
Yeah,
I've never seen the second one.
I really like the second movie.
So something quickly I want to kind of dive into in Hereditary, and something I mean in part I just kind of like want to make sense of by talking it out. Is there's kind of like the thematic and narrative sides to the film that are maybe sometimes at odds with each other. I'm not 100% sure where I fall, but like it's super exemplified at the very beginning where Peter's in class and they're talking about Oedipus Rex and they're like, oh, is it more or less tragic because of such and such? And Peter's just not paying attention because he wants to give some smooches to a cute girl in his class, and then
it wasn't until that moment I thought you were talking about Lilo and Stitch. I am so sorry. I was so confused. God. I was so I was like, when does Oedipus Rex?
But it turned Oedipus Rex and Lilo and Stitch would go absolutely sicko mode,
crazy,
dude.
My God.
And then it's they land on this idea sort of in the background that the story is more tragic because their fate has already been decided. Mm-hmm. And it's the movie telling you the fate of everyone here has already been decided. Like Charlie dying was orchestrated by the cult. Like all of this was already essentially preordained by powers beyond the character's control. And there's like two different things going on with that. There's like this narrative angle of like, it's spooky because like no one wants to like lose control to others, like directing their life. But in the thematic side, there's this, I'm not 100% sure where the film's trying to take it. Part of me feels like it's meant to be sort of like you can't control or choose your genetics, your traits. Like that is decided for you.
Yeah, sure.
Sort of this, that side of things is I think maybe kind of where it's falls in this realm of family. There's a lot of discussion of mental health in the film.
Yeah, I was going to say like denying your mental health history in your family is not going to lead to great things if you just push away that and rather than face it.
Yeah, it's like a fate that's already been decided for you, is that like if you are genetically predisposed to have to grapple with mental illness, that is just an unfortunate piece of the puzzle. Mm-hmm. But I'm not 100% convinced, and I just kind of want to get your guys' 2 cents on like where you see that, where if you picked that up, if you agree with that.
I think I do. I mean, I think this movie is it only yada yadas for me about what its story and like theming is for when it gets towards the end of like wanting to kill the son, and it's just kind of like a mad dash of like getting there. But I do think it does a good job with talking, like especially with Toni Collette's character, just examining her character and like how she just talks to family, like how she pushed away her like mother. Obviously it's because she was bad and strange,
so.
But pushed away her mother, and because of that,
brother
like
to suicide.
Drove her brother to suicide. She tried, literally, there's a great horror subversion, literally tried telling her husband the exact truth, like, hey, go look at the body if you don't fucking believe me upstairs. And he was like, no, sort of a deal, and kind of the communication within family. And that could be very true with mental illness too, of like you literally telling them what is going on in your head and then being like, what is, like, you know,
denialism of it.
The denialism of it. Yeah. And so I mean, I think it's prevalent throughout Hereditary in a really interesting way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I agree that it's like very present. I super dislike deterministic philosophy of like, this is all preordained. Like, there's nothing you can do to change your fate.
That's why you love the movie Brave.
Yeah, if you could change your fate,
would ya?
So like, I don't know, that was never like something that I really liked about this movie watching it.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know how I really feel about it, like obviously coming to that conclusion, because I feel like it does come to that conclusion, because there's nothing that they could have done, right? Like, it is what it is, and it's where they ended up. So I don't know. Yeah, that's not my favorite thing about this movie.
Sure, it is a dour subject that you know, the film is about, and you just like don't agree with that philosophically on either the narrative side or the thematic side. Sort of.
Yeah, well, and I think like too, if you want to like look at that in relation to family, like I don't like the idea that if you are stuck with your family, then you're just like stuck with them, right? Like, you can make changes in your life when you have the means to do so.
You can
like sometimes you're stuck in a bad situation and you're like trapped there, but like there are always ways that you can, you know, make changes and things. And like, it's hard when you're a child and sometimes you're stuck in a bad family situation.
Well, if she would have just offered her first son in the first place, this would have been avoided.
Yeah, then it would have been fine, and Charlie would have had a great
life.
There
was a way out. So at the end of the day, this story is about blame your mother. And if you blame your mother, then things will be okay.
It's all mommy's fault.
Yeah. Oh, that's so I think it's a really good point, Alex. I mean, not to dive into the philosophy right here, right now.
That's for our bonus episode.
Subscribe to our Patreon, where you can get just me having philosophical prognostication about the movies in our podcast and be like, here's what they actually.
Matthew, you do that both for a quick buck and for the philosophical opportunity. Like, you would like, it's two of your favorite things. I don't know. I feel like you should maybe just start it.
Many people are saying this. I think it's a good point. And is I like the consistency in your worldview to want to see the better side of it, and not, you know, that
and
like,
I hate
there is an upside. That is true. Also true. Oh, thank you. Anyway,
do we want to vote?
Let's do it up.
I think I can start us off. I just want to sort of, I don't know, throw it out up top that like this is just like two fantastic films, and in my mind is like,
this probably could have been a final round matchup.
Yeah,
you know what it is? Fuck it.
Brackets down on episode 1. What a ballsy move that would be to the audience.
We're just like, you know what? We just really like this one. Either you want to hear us talk about it for each episode? No, but
yeah. So without further ado, though, I can actually vote. I'm gonna vote for Hereditary. Not to say I don't think that Lilo and Stitch has a valid interpretation of family, or that it isn't a good one. But I think that there's a lot to really dig into as far as Hereditary's display of it, and this sort of distortion or subversion of our traditional feelings about family is an important part of the discussion. But Lilo and Stitch is a fantastic film and a fantastic movie about family. You ask me again in 2 weeks, and maybe my vote would be different.
I will. Keeping you to that.
Okay.
Yeah, I think in a very similar boat to you, Matt, where I think on any given day, I probably could vote for either Hereditary or Lilo and Stitch. But I think just based on kind of where the conversation went today, I think I have to vote for Lilo and Stitch this time. Yeah, I just kind of like, today I like what it says about family more, the kind of themes in family that it touches on more. I like its ideas of found family. So yeah, Lilo and Stitch for me today.
Yeah, I think it's totally valid. They're both great movies.
Yeah, totally.
It's very conflicting because usually I'm very much in the boat of the more positive message is one that I like more. But there's something about how interesting Hereditary and what it presents about family and its values are. I don't think it's just a cut and dry what our end philosophy that we discussed here is. As much. Totally. I think it's like there's something that beyond that it's this itch that I really want to scratch. So I think I'm voting for Hereditary here.
Hereditary advances, it will face off against Furious 7 2 weeks from now. But we've got some more movies coming at you next week, some more matchups. We've got Royal Tenenbaums versus Parasite, and My Big Fat Greek Wedding versus Little Miss Sunshine.
Amazing. Those are really fun matchups. Those are really
stacked fucking matchups.
We got families, dude. We got families.
We did good this bracket. We missed Adam's Family, but like we picked good movies this bracket, guys.
Adam's Family would have been a good pick. And with the new Wednesday show that just came out.
Yeah, man.
So
we were almost on the zeitgeist. Almost there.
Yeah, we
Don't
missed
worry.
it this time.
Some crazy shit's about to be announced about a
Spy Kids
live action
5D coming out
Yeah.
in 3 weeks.
No, the live action sex film B movie I think has more odds than that.
Time will tell. If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure to rate and review the show on all your favorite podcasting platforms. We're on all of them. If you want to get in touch with us, follow us on social media at ToughCutPod. We're on all of your favorites, literally all of them except for Hive.
Yeah. Tag us on your Spotify Wrapped if you're.
Those are coming out.
If we're
this
up
time of
there.
year.
If we're not up there, don't tag us. That's really embarrassing. Be like, hey, Tough Cut Pod, you didn't make the cut.
Like,
that would be really sad. Don't do that.
And if we get 10 tweets where we're not in your Spotify Wrap, you don't even want to know what's going to happen.
Oh, they won't do that. There's no way they'll get that special little treat we have planned. That was pretty good. They won't know.
Who should they share today's episode with?
Share this with someone who, when you were a kid, thought might have been a spy kid.
Or a monster.
Share this with someone who's part of the OSS. Please, you need to expose them for the good of our national security. You have to do it. Hit the button.